Hi everybody and welcome back to the Tasting Room. We're sampling today a bourbon from the Limestone Branch Distillery out in Kentucky. This is Yellowstone. So this label actually has a little bit of history around it. It bounced around a little bit during and after Prohibition. But recently, back in 2010, Steve Beam, who is obviously a descendant of the Beam family, bought back the label for his new Limestone Branch Distillery, as it was his ancestors who actually came up with the recipe for Yellowstone here. You know, and I don't know if that was Minor Case Beam, who I know we've sampled their Minor Case Rye before here on the show, and that's just a beautiful, wonderful rye whiskey. And they're also making that label at the Limestone Branch Distillery this day. And you know, if you've never been down there, it's it's not too far out of Bardstown, Kentucky, where I stay every year, and it's such a neat little distillery. It's so tiny, very much a little craft distillery, and very cool to see their little tiny operation there. Anyway, so this one here, this Yellowstone, is I believe 93 proof, yes, and has I believe it has a relatively low rye mash bill. I think I read somewhere it was 75% corn, 13% rye, and 12% malted barley, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so right away here on the nose, I'm getting heavy notes of caramel, a little honey. There's a good amount of vanilla in there. It's a good, full, rich nose here. I've also got notes of smelling some buttered corn. Yeah, the grain is really prevalent. It's really coming through here. Look a little bit deeper. There's a nice nuttiness, like some candied pecans, and a hint of clove. Whew. Boy, I could sit here and nose this one all day. Okay, most prominently on the palate, I'm getting a nice creamy vanilla, along with some toffee and brown sugar sweetness. And again, you know, since this is, I believe, a relatively low rye mash bill, there's a lot of corn in here, so you're going to expect the sweetness to dominate the palate. That said, it's rounded out nicely with some toasted oak, and even a hint of cocoa in there. I've got a medium length finish on this one. Doesn't have a ton of linger, but there is a nice light, very light peppercorn spice. And I will say that toffeed sweetness does kind of dominate the palate. You know, but one thing I do want to say about this is, you know, this is a great bourbon for both experienced whiskey drinkers and for beginners. And this is why, I mean, at 93 proof, it has a good, full, rich flavor. There's a lot of complexity to it. You know, but because it doesn't have that real high rye mash bill, there's not a whole lot of bite so it's without that real long, spicy finish that might be off-putting to a beginner. You know, so that's kind of the reason that I've really liked this one ever since I found it down there at the Limestone Branch Distillery and the The neat thing about this label is, I don't know how they do it, but even given how small their operation is, it's readily available even out by me in Chicagoland. So really, I mean, obviously depending on where you are, but I've never found this one to be hard to find. It's not like you have to make the trip to Kentucky and go visit the distillery in order to find this one. Okay, so let's rate this one here. So on the nose, started out with some nice sweet caramel honey notes. There was a nice nuttiness, some candied pecans, and that grain that really came through. A nice even buttered corn. Really, really pleasant nose on this one. And a little bit of clove to kind of round it out and add a little element of spice. I'm going to put the nose for this one at 24 points. I really liked it a lot. For the taste, again, I do feel the sweetness was dominant. We did have some creamy vanilla to start, but definitely some toffee, some brown sugar in there. Even still, that sweetness was evened out nicely with some nice toasted oak. I'm going to put the taste for this one at 22 points. Finish, personally, I like a little bit more linger on my finish. This one had a medium, shorter length finish to it. Did still have that toffee sweetness, and there was a light peppercorn spice. But again, nothing too bold. Which is again why this one would likely appeal to both beginners and experts alike. So I'm going to put the finish for this one at 20 points. And the overall balance I've got at 23.5. I thought the flavors on this one, although it was on the sweeter side, I thought the flavors were really well balanced. There was still some clove and some white peppercorn. And some nice vanillas and some toasted oak to even out that spiciness and create a really wonderful flavor profile. So yeah, 23.5 for the balance. And that is going to put me at an overall score of 89.5 points for this Yellowstone Bourbon from Limestone Branch Distillery. Well, thank you folks for joining me here today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure you give it a thumbs up or leave a comment in the comment section down below. And then, of course, if you're not already a member to my channel, please go ahead and hit that little button and subscribe. And then after you do, make sure you ding that little bell that pops up next to the subscribe button and make sure you get notifications of new videos that come out. New videos come out on the weekends, and I would hate for you to miss one, so please go ahead and do that for me. And I will see you again next week, right here on The Tasting Room.